السلام عليكم. بسم الله. الحمد لله. الحمد لله العزيز الأكبر، لا راد لما قضاه ولا دافع لما قدر. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as the last messenger. The last messenger in the sense that there is no Nabi, no prophet, no messenger after him, and also that there is no Wahi after him. So Wahi discontinued when the Prophet ﷺ left this world. After he left this world, the Sahaba had no recourse except to follow the Quran and the Sunnah, and then to use their best judgment in deciding the affairs of the Ummah. None of the Sahaba claimed that they received Wahi, revelation from Allah. None of them. Neither Abu Bakr, nor Umar, nor Uthman, nor Ali, nor any other Sahabi. So with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's passing, Nabuwah, prophethood, stopped or discontinued, and likewise Wahi also stopped and discontinued. During that time, as the Prophet ﷺ was leaving this world, there was a person by the name of Musaylama. Musaylama, from one of the Arab tribes, claimed that he was a Nabi. This happened during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he inherited this fitna, this trial from Musaylama, and he dispatched a small band of people to go and fight him, and they did, and they took care of him. So what I'm saying is that the call from fake prophets, false nabis, and the jaloon of this ummah, the liars, is not a new phenomenon. It happened during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. It happened during the time of Abu Bakr, and it has continued since then until today, that there are people who claim that they receive instruction from Allah, and they claim that they are now blessed and they are gifted, and some of them claim that they're prophets, and some of the women claim that they are prophetess. And this happens in this community. You may say, why am I saying this? Is this something of the old, an old story of Musaylama? We did that in Sunday school. No, it happens now. And it's a live fitna. Then you have live bacteria, and they culture. Likewise, this is a live fitna. Okay. What I want to say and emphasize today is not necessarily that people claim they receive wahi from Allah or that they are prophets. I want to highlight some of the effects of this claim that linger in the community. So what is the effect of this claim that wahi has not discontinued and people do receive revelation or inspiration directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because this is more common than we think. And it's common in our communities that if we believe that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the last of all Anbiya and prophets and the last of all messengers, and Wahi discontinued, then there should be an impact on the community for believing this. And that is, my dear brothers and sisters, summed up in the attitude of the Ummah towards the Quran and Sunnah, towards Islam in general, that there are now cries, and there have always been cries from the Ummah, in the name of other religions and philosophies, that maybe we should re-look, reinvestigate, and sometimes even reconstruct Islam. All of these ideologies are repercussions from not believing that Nabuwah has finished and Wahy has discontinued. This is where it stems from. So we must be very alert and very careful as to what it is we want the Ummah to do in the name of reform and in the name of perhaps revision. Which part of Islam and the Islamic heritage and the legacy of the Sunnah can we say this can be reformed or changed, and which part cannot be changed or reformed? So then there are issues, from the political issues to the economic issues to the social issues, and to even perhaps the issues of religious worship and so on. So these are all what we call the bid'at, the innovations that are very rampant in many communities. This is all because we, meaning some of us, have not conceded that Wahy has stopped. There's no more Wahy after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Sahaba, they followed the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Tabi'un, they followed the Sahaba, and the Tabi'un, they followed the Tabi'un. So this line of succession is in following, not in innovating. So in our minds, some of our minds, and those who are in leadership positions, and those who want the Ummah to progress, this is all in the name of progression. We don't want the Ummah to lag behind. Okay. This is an issue and concern of every Muslim, that we should be with the times and we should be taking the lead and we should do all this, which is all wonderful. لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that you are now bearing witness upon people, and the only way we can bear witness is if we are the leaders. كُنْتُمْ خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ, you are the best of people, that you have been raised for people. So all of these ideals and slogans are well intentioned, that we must take the lead and we must be in a position where we're leading others and so on. But when it comes to understanding the deen, understanding what is allowed in Islam and what is not allowed in Islam, then we already have a model, and that is the model of the Sahaba. That is the model of the Sahaba. Very careful, very cautious. I want to highlight to you one story, which all of you perhaps know. If not all of you, most of you know. And that is when the Prophet ﷺ left, the Huffaz of this Ummah, okay, there were 70 of them were killed in a battle. Those who memorized the Quran. Umar radiallahu anhu was concerned that if this is the state of affairs, and all the huffaz of the ummah start to get killed in battles, then there will be no one to preserve the Quran. So he suggested to Abu Bakr, this was a suggestion, that we should perhaps record and document the Quran in a written form. Let's write this. Abu Bakr first said, no. My question is, why did he say no? When the utility of writing the Quran in the form of a document is in front of us. The question is, why did Abu Bakr say no? He said no because it was something the Prophet ﷺ did not do. So he was careful. He was cautious. Simply because an idea has a utility doesn't mean you jump on the bandwagon and say, yeah, this is a great idea, let's do it. So Abu Bakr's taqwa told him no. Umar radiallahu anhu being blessed by the divine as far as farasa, as far as insights and foresights and leading the ummah, he did not argue with him. He persuaded Abu Bakr. Time after time, talk after talk, conversation after conversation, he sat and he persuaded him that this is the best thing for the ummah, and every time he tried, Abu Bakr said no. No. Now, what would that be if we were in that situation today with the journalist microphone in the face of Abu Bakr? What do you say about this? We would have criticized, why do you say no? This is great for the ummah. But Umar radiallahu anhu had so much respect for Abu Bakr's thinking that he said, I'm not going to force the issue, I'm going to try and persuade him. This is a level of professionalism that we gain from the Sahaba. When Umar persuaded him finally, then they went to the best person for the job, Zayd bin Thabit radiallahu anhu, who was a scribe during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. He was also Hafiz, and he was the one who listened to the Prophet ﷺ recite in front of Jibreel in Ramadan. They went to him, both of them. Now you can say, one is the Khalifa, Abu Bakr, and the other is his right-hand man, Umar. They both went to him, and he said no. He also said no, I'm not doing it. And he gave the same reason Abu Bakr gave. The Prophet ﷺ did not do it. I'm not doing it. So now, Abu Bakr could have commanded Zayd that if you don't do this, I'm going to imprison you as a Khalifa. He could have done that. Umar could have scolded Zayd and said, how dare you go against the instruction of the Khalifa? They didn't do that. Why didn't they do that? Because there's a sense of sukoon, there's a sense of waqar, there's a sense of sakina, there's a sense of calmness when you want to do the work of Allah. You don't get agitated because people say no. You stand your ground. So they both persuaded Zayd over many conversations. And they said, finally, Zayd agreed. And that's how they got the job done. So my point is that when we look into the leadership of this ummah, they were very careful that they did not want to suggest to anybody that the doors of wahi were still open, and that everything that is good for the community should be now respected, and we should listen to every good opinion and suggestion that comes. They weren't like that. Very careful. So we see that in the examples of the Sahaba and the examples of the Tabi'un, we see this leadership by following the Quran Sunnah, by following Wahi, not by leading Wahi. Now, when we talk about some political issues in the world and political issues of the Ummah, and we talk about leadership, this and that, and economic issues and social issues and community issues, then most of us have our own opinion about what we should or should not be doing. Most of those views and opinions are based on speculation at best. They're not based on any academic research. They're not based on pure knowledge from the Quran Sunnah. They're just ideas we have. There are concerns we have, and we should be concerned. I'm not saying we should not be concerned. We should be concerned. And we should also be careful that we don't jump onto any and every bandwagon that is being presented to us in the name of progress. Now, there are two factors. One is internal, that within the community we have these voices, and the other is external. From outside of the community we have many voices. People telling us how to think, people telling us how to write about Islam, people telling us what textbooks we should write and how to write the textbooks, people telling us what syllabus we should be teaching, people telling us how to be the imam of a masjid, and people who are non-Muslim telling us what Islam is and what Islam isn't, and we all marvel at their scholarship. We sit down and stand up and we applaud their scholarship, that these are non-Muslims and they know so much about Islam that they're telling us how to be Muslim. This is a repercussion of not believing that Wahi has stopped, that Wahi has discontinued. There is no more Wahi after the Prophet ﷺ. What we have is the Quran Sunnah. What we have is the example of the Sahaba and the Tabi'un. That is what we have. If we do not appreciate what we have, then by default we'll be glamorizing what others have, because we don't appreciate what we have. So as much as I'm concerned about the internal mess that sometimes is created by people who want to reform the Ummah and sometimes revise Islam and sometimes reconstruct Islam, I'm just as concerned about the external voices. In this community, in mainstream America, where there are voices where people are saying, you guys should change Islam. You guys should rethink Islam. You guys should do this with Islam. You guys should be doing this, this and that. Let's make women the imams of the masajid so that there's equal opportunity. Right? Now that's cancerous. So we say we're not going down that road. Why? Because there are things in Islam that came from the Prophet ﷺ, and they simply cannot be changed. And it's not an issue of whether women have equal rights or not. It's a question of whether the Prophet ﷺ allowed this in the first place. Did he allow this? Then the issue is your thawab, your reward. Now, are you praying because of social justice, or are you praying because you want Allah to reward you? What's your niyyah? If you want social justice, then perhaps you're in the wrong place. If you want reward, then you're in the right place. So what I'm presenting to you is that there are many offshoots of this fitna of the Musaylama, the Kadhab, the Dajjal. And in our communities we should be alert that before we say this is a great idea, an idea that has never existed in Islam before, because it has a utility, it has a value, we can be now visible elsewhere in the mainstream American society, and we can do this if we have this and that. We have to be very careful. Okay? So what we need to do is, first of all, understand what is our Aqeedah, and then understand the Quran Sunnah in the light of the Quran Sunnah, not in the light of social necessity. And with this we make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the tawfiq to do what pleases Him the most. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Please pray your Sunnah.
Assalamu alaikum. We have some announcement. First is our general body meeting. Second annual general body meeting will be going to held tomorrow after Zohar Salat. So every member and Musallis are requested to participate in it. And second is the membership renewal is up, and the forms are beside the notice board on the right hand side. So we humbly request everybody to renew their membership, and the new members we request all the musallis to participate and become the member of the masjid. And third is we're going to have our election next year, January 21st. And tomorrow in the GBM, we're going to discuss about the procedure. And there's 4 new Shura members going to be elected. So the details will be discussed in the GBM tomorrow. And finally, we request every member, musallis, and to pray for our Muslim brothers throughout the world. We know that the situations all around the world, especially Palestine, Burma, Syria, and Yemen, and other places, so Allah can remove the oppressors from them. So
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله الله تعالى إلى كافة الناس بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا. أما بعد، فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر وذكر الله كثيرا. بارك الله لنا في القرآن العظيم ونفعنا بالآيات والذكر الحكيم. إنه تعالى جواد كريم ملك بر رؤوف رحيم، فاستغفروا